The future can feel really strange sometimes, almost as if we've seen parts of it before they happen. Not because anyone truly knows what is coming, but because certain ideas seem to enter our minds quietly without us realizing it. It can feel like these thoughts were planted long ago, slowly becoming familiar over time. Years ago, before these topics appeared constantly in the news, before the technology was fully developed, and before people openly talked about these possibilities, similar ideas appeared in a cartoon called The Simpsons. At the time, it was treated as nothing more than entertainment. A funny show meant to make people laugh, relax, and not think too deeply. For a long time, The Simpsons trained people to laugh at extreme or strange ideas. The show made unbelievable situations feel harmless and silly. It encouraged people to see these moments as jokes, not as something worth questioning. When something feels funny, it feels safe. When it feels safe, people stop paying attention. But some of those ideas stayed with us. They didn't disappear, they remained in the background of our minds. Years later, those same ideas began to return not as jokes but as real discussions. Suddenly, they didn't feel funny anymore. Now the world being shown feels unsettling. Machines observe human life and turn it into data. Systems measure people, categorize them, and reduce complex human experiences into numbers and files. Technology watches, records, and stores information constantly. There are systems that influence what billions of people see, read, and accept as true. There are tools that quietly shape opinions and guide attention. This isn't about predicting the future. It's about how ideas become normal over time. When people accept ideas early, they rarely resist them later. The machines still reduce life to data. Digital systems still shape perception. Powerful platforms influence what feels real and what feels important. These ideas didn't appear suddenly. They were introduced slowly, piece by piece. That's why watching these episodes today doesn't feel nostalgic. It feels serious. It feels like a reminder to stay awake. Not because the future is fixed, but because influence is real. In Season 23, Episode 9, titled Holidays of Future Past, there is a scene where Maggie is pregnant. She is lying on a table while a robot scans her body. A hologram of the baby appears above her, rotating in the air. The machine analyzes everything and presents information instantly. While the scan continues, the robot casually offers to play a game with Maggie. When this episode aired in 2011, it felt exaggerated and unrealistic. It looked like pure science fiction. Most people laughed and moved on, never imagining such moments could feel normal one day. Now it is 2025. Today, medical technology can scan unborn babies in detailed digital form. AI systems assist doctors in diagnosing conditions. Computers analyze medical data and often reach accurate conclusions. What once felt imaginary is now part of real medical discussion. This raises serious questions. Who controls the information gathered from these scans? Who decides where this data is stored and who can access it? What happens when machines know details about a child before parents fully do? Technology itself is not the problem. The concern is how quietly it becomes trusted without reflection. When a machine interacts with a child, even in harmless ways like games or voices, what else is being communicated? What patterns are being learned? What assumptions are being built before awareness even develops? Every small interaction may seem insignificant, but together they shape understanding in ways that are difficult to measure. The holographic image of a baby is not just a visual advancement. It represents how life itself is becoming increasingly observed, recorded, and analyzed. This is something worth thinking about carefully. There is another episode, Season 16, Episode 15, where Bart and Lisa are shown a future world by Professor Frink. They see Homer and Marge living in a house completely underwater. Fish swim past the windows. Elevators rise through bubbles. The ocean surrounds everything. When this aired in 2005, it felt impossible, a fantasy that belonged only to cartoons. Now it is 2025. Underwater structures, floating cities, and ocean-based living concepts are being seriously discussed. Rising sea levels force governments and engineers to explore new possibilities. What once sounded absurd is now a topic of real planning. Again, this is not about prediction, it's about familiarity. When people see ideas early, they don't feel shocking later. If humans ever live underwater, important questions remain. Who owns the ocean floor? Who controls access? What does safety mean when land is no longer the foundation of life? These images are no longer just entertainment. They are reflections of conversations already happening. Another moment appears again in Season 23, Episode 9, Holidays of Future Past. In this future setting, Lisa is searching for her daughter in a world that feels completely digital. filled with music and glowing structures. She walks into a massive corporate building and casually speaks to a powerful search company, acknowledging how much influence it has while still treating it like a normal tool. When this episode aired in 2011, very few people were thinking about how powerful a single technology company could become. The line felt like a joke. It passed quickly. Today, the situation feels very different. Search engines, recommendation systems, and digital platforms influence how people find information, form opinions, and understand reality. Billions of people rely on these systems every day. They guide what is seen, what is hidden, and what feels important. This power did not arrive suddenly, it grew quietly. When information flows through a few centralized systems, questions naturally arise. Who controls what is shown? Who decides what is promoted or ignored? How much influence does convenience have over independent thought? This is not about accusing one company or naming a single villain. It is about recognizing how much trust has been placed into systems that most people do not fully understand. When tools become essential, they stop being questioned. The scene inside the digital headquarters no longer feels humorous. It feels symbolic, a reminder of how easily influence can blend into daily life without resistance. There is also an older episode, Season 15, Episode 1, where Professor Frink invents a device that can erase the last 24 hours of memory using a flash of light. He uses it to remove embarrassing moments, unwanted experiences, and things he prefers not to remember. The idea is played for laughs. When this aired in 2003, it felt absurd, a cartoon exaggeration meant only for comedy. Today, real scientific research explores ways to influence memory. Some studies focus on helping trauma victims by reducing painful memories. Others explore how memory works at a neurological level. While intentions may vary, the concept itself raises serious ethical concerns. Memory shapes identity. Forgetting does not erase truth. Even if humans forget events, reality remains unchanged. Technology that can influence memory must be approached with extreme caution. Removing pain is not the same as removing responsibility. Altering recollection should never mean altering accountability. The idea of erasing memory may sound convenient, but it carries deep consequences. If people can forget easily, what protects truth? If memories can be edited, what protects history? These questions deserve careful thought. A cartoon that many people once watched without thinking deeply now feels very different when seen again. What was once treated as simple entertainment now feels like a collection of ideas placed in plain sight, not to predict events, but to shape how people respond to them when they arrive. Doctors assisted by machines, homes built in extreme environments, digital systems that influence thought, tools that can affect memory. None of these ideas appeared suddenly in the real world. They were discussed, imagined, and repeated long before they became serious topics. This does not mean the future was written inside a cartoon. It means that ideas gain power when people become comfortable with them. The danger is not technology itself, the danger is passivity. When people stop questioning what they see, influence becomes invisible. When influence becomes invisible, it becomes effective. This is how societies change quietly, not through force but through familiarity. We often assume progress only brings improvement, but every new capability also carries responsibility. Without ethical boundaries, tools meant to help can slowly take control. The world people recognize today can feel fragile, not because it is weak, but because it is deeply connected. When systems control information, memory, and access, even small changes can have wide effects. This is not meant to create fear. Fear clouds judgment, awareness sharpens it. Nothing here suggests certainty, nothing is guaranteed. Outcomes depend on choices, individual and collective. The question is not what technology can do, but what people allow it to do. A cartoon once made people laugh. It also made people comfortable. It showed doctors who were machines, homes beneath the ocean, companies that existed mostly in digital space, and tools that could remove memories. At the time, it all felt harmless, funny, impossible. But ideas do not need to be true to be influential. They only need to be familiar. The show didn't tell people what would happen. It showed them what could happen over and over again until it felt normal. When something feels normal, it stops being questioned. That is what makes this unsettling. Not because events are guaranteed, but because attention is fading. It feels like a signal hidden in plain sight. Not a message about destiny, but a reflection of how easily minds can be guided when entertainment lowers defenses. Music plays, colors distract, the moment passes, and something important is missed. The secrets aren't in the future, they are in the patterns. The question is not whether things will get worse. The question is whether people will notice what is changing while it is still happening. If you are still watching this, it means you are paying attention. That matters. Share this with someone who still thinks it is just a cartoon. Ask them what they see now that they didn't see before, which moment made them pause, which idea stayed with them longer than expected. Truth does not disappear just because it is ignored. Stay aware, stay thoughtful, guard what you accept without question. And until next time, keep your mind awake.